One of the most terrifying experiments was done on mice in the late 1960s, and some people will say it pretty closely mimics what we're seeing today in modern humans. But the experiment was called Universe 25, and it was where an ethologist by the name of John Calhoun, he got 8 mice and he placed them in a large, climate-controlled enclosure. It was safe from predators, and it had unlimited food, water, nesting materials, all that stuff. So it was essentially designed to be like a mice paradise. And initially, the mice increased very rapidly, and the population grew exponentially. But after a year, the population peaked at about 2,200 mice. Now here's where it gets interesting. So near the peak, social dynamics began to shift drastically. A phenomenon occurred that Calhoun referred to as the behavioral sink. That's where the mice started to show signs of stress. They became more aggressive and socially withdrawn. And they all began to isolate, and they started to avoid normal social interactions. The females, they lost their urge to reproduce, and the ones who did reproduce stopped properly caring for their young and eventually stopped caring at all and just would leave their offspring to die. And while a small handful of the most dominant males would reproduce, the rest of the males became completely uninterested in the females, spending most of their time alone, grooming themselves obsessively to the point of injury. Some of them even started forced mating with the same sex or forcing themselves onto the babies. And even with an abundance of food, some of the mice resorted to cannibalism. And as these abnormal behaviors continued to escalate, researchers noticed that each mouse became fixated with their own individual actions and completely ignored the needs of the group. It was a total societal collapse, and by the 600th day of the experiment, only a few mice remained. With no new generations being born, the last mouse died and Universe 25 became extinct. Now, this was an actual experiment that was done in the 60s, and since then it's been replicated multiple times with different organisms, all with the same result. And now looking around at the abnormal behaviors going on in modern humans and the number of healthy communities rapidly decreasing because of so many people these days are just fixated on their own individual actions and completely ignoring the needs of the group, I don't know, man. What do you guys think?